Om Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. So we were discussing Mula Vidya Nirasa. Anubhava, when Upanishad says, Shrutyadayo Anubhavadayascha Yatha Sambhavaham Pramanam, it means Vedanta takes the Vedantic teaching, culminates in Anubhava. Vedantic teaching is going to culminate in Anubhava, unlike the teaching of Karmakanda, which teaches what is not within your experience, what is not within your experience, or what is going to be gained as an experience, as a later experience. It is a achievable experience, a gainable experience. It is not a discovery of existing experience. Vedanta teaches a discovery of an existing experience, self-existing experience, whereas the Karmakanda, the other part of the Veda, teaches a certain idea about it. That idea on imagination, on meditation. That idea on imagination, see that idea given to you, you will imagine, and that imagined idea you are going to realize. It is a creative imagination. A creative imagination means the idea given to you, you keep imagining so much that you start seeing it, you start experiencing it. So you convert an idea into an experience. In other words, you internalize that experience. You internalize that idea, you convert an idea into an experience. Okay? But in Vedanta, you discover a self-existing experience. See the difference. Therefore, the other experiences like heavenly experience, I think yesterday we have covered. Yeah, yesterday we have covered. Let me see. Vedanta Paribhasha, I suppose. Yeah. So today is the day of Mula Vidya Nirasa. So the experience of heaven or experience of a Saguna Brahma is an experience that is yet to come. So it is a Sadhyanubhava, not a Siddhanubhava. Okay? So when Vedanta says it is a Siddhanubhava, Yatha dharma jignasa na dharma jignasayam iva shrutyadayah eva pramanam brahma jignasayam kintu shrutyadayo anubhavadayascha yatha sambhavehma pramanam. Not only the Shruti, but also Anubhava is Pramanam here. Because Anubhavavasanatvat, he says, it is going to culminate in Anubhava. That means Upasana also is going to culminate in Anubhava, but it is different from it. Upasana, the knowledge of Upasana given to you, you have to imagine, meditate and own up the idea. You own up the idea that you keep on imagine, that imaginary idea turns into an experience. So the idea as you thought, so you start experiencing. Here first you think and later you come to experience it. Okay, in Upasana. What you think, you come to experience it. But here in Jnanam, in Vedanta, you don't imagine, you come to discover the existing experience. Okay? The difference is a self-existing experience. You discover a self-existing experience, there By imagining, you come to arrive at you come to reach an experience. You come to gain an experience in upasana. And what is subject to gain is subject to loss also. What can be gained can be lost also, because that's not your real. What is real? What is really existing? What is self-existing can neither be newly gained nor it can be lost. Okay? What is newly gained, neither can it be, what is newly gained can be lost. So here in Vedanta, it is a self-existing experience you only discover. Okay. The difference is, next sentence he says, Vedantic Vichara is going to culminate in an experience, in the sense it is going to help you to discover an existing experience. That means we have a thought of I am, a notion of myself. I am so and so. I am a person. This notion includes body, sense organs, mind, okay, or various experiences of pain and pleasure and so on. So all these including all these experiences, there is a notion of I. But this notion of I, notion of mind, notion of body, okay, this body, mind and sense organs and the notion of I, all these things are taken to be self-existing. See, the mistake is Atma or the consciousness alone is a self-existing. This I notion is not self-existing, but this is the mistake we have. We think that this I notion is self-existing. So this body is self-existing, mind is self-existing. That means I think I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense organs, and I am an individual. When Vedanta, a person who listens to Vedanta for the first time, when Vedanta says that in reality you are not this individuality, you are not the body, you are not mind and sense organs and so on, the person instantly protests. Of course, sincerely he protests and he says, no, it is not. We say that it is only your own imposition. It is not real you. You are only thinking, you are only imagining that you are an individual. But in reality, you are not. He says, immediately he protests, no, I am not imagining that I am an individual. I am not imagining that I am a body or I am a mind. It is not a newly acquired identity of me. My real identity is this. This is an unthought of. I have not consciously acquired this thought of myself. This myself is a reality, it's a self-existing, he says. Who? The student says. He has to be, that's why he has to be taught. It looks as if this is self-existing. The I notion looks as if it is self-existing. The individuality looks as if it is self-existing. I am not entertaining. This sense of individuality I am not entertaining. That I am the body I am not entertaining. I am the mind I am not entertaining. I am this. This is what I am. This is self-existing. Vedanta has to teach the student. It looks as if self-existing, but on examination it is not. That's where you need to examine it. On examination, you come to understand that this sense of individuality, the sense of I notion, the I notion, that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense organs, I am an individual, all this, though appears to be self-existing, it is not really self-existing. There is self-existing is self-existing. It is neither newly acquired nor it is negated. The really self-existing Atma is unnegatable. But this thought you can forget. The I notion you can forget. See, you can forget. You can throw it out of your consciousness. That I am a body is a notion. because it is a notion, it is not self-existing because you can forget your body. That I am mind, I am sense organs is not your reality, is not a self-existing fact, because you can forget your sense organs, you can forget your mind, you can forget yourself as an individual. That means your I notion that I am so and so can be forgotten. Like in deep sleep, you can forget. You can lose. What can be lost? What can be removed? What is subject to change? What can be lost is not self-existing. What is self-existing is really self-existing. Therefore, we have to distinguish between what is really self-existing. It is the consciousness. It is the pure existing Atma, which is pure existence by its very nature. It is pure consciousness by its very nature. That pure existing Atma, pure existence or pure consciousness, that alone is really self-existing. And any other idea about myself, a notion about myself is a notion. The notion, unfortunately, is taken to be self-existing. So there are two things. One is really self-existing, another is taken to be self-existing, appears to be self-existing. Okay? This is where this is where is necessary to examine what is really self-existing, what only appears to be self-existing, but in reality it is not. The self-I notion is not really self-existing. It appears to be self-existing, but it is really not. Okay, this is where we do vichara. Vichara is examination, self-observation. Therefore, as a result of self-observation, you disprove the I notion as self-existing. I notion is not self-existing, you come to discover. That I am the body, I am sense organs, I am the mind, this notion that I am body, I am mind, I am sense organs, I am an individual subject to birth and death and so on, all these notions about myself, all this is only a notion about myself. It is not a self-existing reality, it is a false notion, you come to discover. It is a false because it is not true to my real nature. My real nature is one. The notion about myself is another. My real nature is one way, that is self-existing. The notion about myself is not self-existing. The notion about myself is that I am an individual. That I am an individual is not a reality about myself. Myself is really self-existing. This notion doesn't present me. Notion, although appears to be self-existing, it is a false notion because it's not really self-existing. It can be negated, it can be lost, it can be changed, it can be forgotten. So this viveka, this discrimination is, on doing this discrimination, you come to discover. So therefore in Vedanta, you come to discover the absolute self, the real self. Okay, the self-existing self, you only come to discover. You want to create a new experience about yourself. In Upasana, you create a new experience about yourself. But anything created is not your real self because it's created. But when you create, it is a misunderstanding. Under the misunderstanding that I am so and so is a wrong notion about myself, that wrong notion you expand. In that thing you add another notion to it, a bigger notion to it. Then once you add to that a created notion, you start feeling that you are a big. But the thought of either big or small, I am small, I am helpless is a jiva. That I am a great and big and having many qualities, confidence and all, this is also a notion only. This is also a wrong notion, but it is an improved notion. It is an improved notion about myself. A cultivated notion, an improved notion. The bare notion is jivahood, The jivahood, when it is improved, he becomes an improved jiva, an expanded jiva, a well grown up jiva. You become devata, you become rishi, you go to Brahmaloka. All these things are within your notion of jivahood, within the notion of individuality. Within the notion of individuality, you cultivate, you expand, you develop into another notion, a better notion, an improved notion. Upasana does only improves the notion, expands the notion, okay, cultivates the notion. But Vedanta negates all notions about myself, leaving about the self-existing fact. Okay? Brahman or the Atma's real nature is self-existing. Therefore, Vedanta is not giving an idea so that you develop into an experience, like you do in Upasana. Upasana gives an idea and you keep on cultivating, dwelling upon it by imagining with a creative imagination. You you keep on imagining so much that you get used to it, habituated to it, and in a kind of hypnotizing like, something like a, but it is a positive hypnotization. You imagine so much that you start feeling it, you start thinking about it, you start feeling that you have become that. So it is a cultivated notion about cultivated experience. You internalize that, an idea which is internalized. But here in Vedanta, neither you internalize nor externalize. You understand what is true nature of yourself. All other notions are notions about you. So here you are not cultivating and developing into another experience. You are only discovering a self-existing fact. Therefore, what is self-existing? In the last class we have discussed, I think it is in Facebook, it is my, what is this, my YouTube couldn't record. I am trying to download, I don't know. I couldn't do that. I have given it another brahmachari to download. If he downloads, probably we will upload to YouTube. Okay. I have given him, he might do. Oh, I have yet to give him. I only told him to do. Yeah, I have to ask him to do. How to do that? So, based upon that, if you listen, it becomes easy to understand. So here, okay, so atiprasana tasmat anubhavartatvat vedanta vicharasya. Vedanta is not only going to culminate. Culminate, it means upasana also culminates in an experience, but that is an acquired experience. It is a discovered self-existing experience. See the difference. It culminates in experience is a common to both. For upasana and jnana, that the upasana statement or a jnana statement, both of them culminate in an experience. Therefore, culminating in an experience, this expression is an ambiguous. It doesn't convey. It is a common to both. Therefore, it doesn't convey correctly. So, it is not Vedantic knowledge. Knowledge means the teaching. Vedantic knowledge culminates in experience. Upasana knowledge also culminates in experience. The difference is Upasana knowledge, knowledge of the Upasya Devata, given to you, given to an Upasaka, culminates into an acquired experience. You acquire an experience by imagining over it. By dwelling upon it, you acquire it into an experience. Whereas Vedantic knowledge is not an acquired experience, it is a discovered self-existing fact. That is a difference. Vedantic knowledge culminates in the discovery of self-existing experience. The knowledge of Upasana culminates, it culminates or it helps you to develop into an experience. The idea develops into an experience. Means developing itself means acquired one. It's not self-existing. It is you are going to acquire it. Okay, this difference you have to remember. Here one more thing. Another aspect of this contention about the Purvapakshi says, in regarding Swarganubhava, Purvapakshi says the experience of heaven, experience of Brahmaloka are yet to be acquired. At the time of listening to Vedanta, at the time of listening to the teaching, that experience doesn't exist. You have to gain the experience, acquire the experience at some time later. That means what Upasana is teaching is not an existing experience, but an acquirable experience. Is not an existing experience, but an acquirable experience. Similarly, Purvapakshi argued in that earlier talk, Purvapakshi argued that Vedantic Anubhava, that I am Brahman, also needs to be acquired. It is not an existing experience. Some of the Vedantins, Advaitins too, some of the it's a very hot. Just a second. Close the window and come. It's been very, very hot. So Vedantic experience, you are going to discover it. So this is what Siddhanti told. Purvapakshi says, even Vedantic experience that I am Brahman is not present at the time of teaching. You have to newly acquire that knowledge. You have to newly acquire that knowledge. You have to newly, so you have no experience of non-duality. A jiva has an experience of jiva. Jiva doesn't have an experience of Brahman. He has to acquire a new experience of Brahmanhood by negating the jivahood. So his experience of jivahood is covering up his experience of Brahmanhood. This is what some of the Advaitins say, unfortunately, like this. The experience of jivahood covers up the experience of Brahmanhood. So jiva doesn't have the direct experience of Brahmanhood right now. As long as he has got jivahood, so long he has got only the duality, experience of duality alone. He can never have the experience of non-duality. Non-duality, then what is the proof for non-duality? They say the Shruti Vakya, the Upanishadic Vakya is a proof of non-duality as the truth, final truth, ultimate truth. Or when Shankaracharya says Anubhava is a pramanam, they say Jnani's Anubhava is a testimony. Jnani's Anubhava is a pramanam. is a valid testimony to prove that Advaita is the final truth, ultimate truth. So the a section of Advaitins talk like that. So the Shankara follower Advaitin, he comes to say that, see, Advaita is not a newly acquirable experience. It is a universal fact. It is a universal experience. It is a self-existing experience. Nobody is ever free from such an experience. Everybody has it right now. Okay? Everybody has the experience right now. Always you have. Therefore, it can be seen in your deep sleep. When you set aside your sense organs and mind, you can see it right now that when everything is removed, you alone remain. That is deep sleep. Deep sleep is not a state of your mind, similar to comparable to waking state. Just as waking is a state, dream is a state. But deep sleep can be viewed two ways. One as a state, another as experience, as yourself. Deep sleep can appear as a state if you look from the waking standpoint. But if you look at the deep sleep as you are in it, not as you are looking at deep sleep. See, as a waker, you look at deep sleep, it appears as a state. As a state means a tentative, for a while. It is there for a while, you reach the state and then come out of the state. You reach the state and drop the state. You reach a state and come out of the state. Okay? State is something you acquire and lose it. You gain it and lose it. But deep sleep, looked as you are in it, neither you have come from elsewhere, nor you can drop waking state, nor you can, because deep sleep is a non-dual nature, neither you can gain the non-duality, nor you can lose the non-duality. It is barely yourself. When everything other than yourself is negated, what remains is barely yourself. Okay? Therefore, that yourself cannot be lost. If not, one more thing. Here point is, not only the Advaita Anubhava is a result of discovery. Not only you are going to discover Advitiya, but you have to use Anubhava as a means to reach the Advaita Anubhava. Okay? You have to use Anubhava as a means to reach the absolute Anubhava. This is also an important point. Now you have, so Anubhava, you use Anubhava as a means. Even while doing Vichara, you start with Anubhava, continue Anubhava, and ultimately reach the Anubhava. This is Vedanta. When you start with waking state, dream state, deep sleep. These are experiences of state. These are all universal experiences. So you start with the states, waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. These three states are universal experiences. So you start with the universal experiences, then start observing, examining them. To examine them, you require one more. Among these universal experience, you require an absolute experience. So you have waking, dream and deep sleep. These three experiences is one. Another is the absolute experience which is underlying all these three, which is common to all these three. Okay? So unless you have these experiences, you can't do Vichara at all. So what is a variable experience? Waking, dream and variable experiences. What is invariable experience? A universal. Waking is also a universal experience. Dream is also a universal experience. But out of them, some experiences are variable, appearing, disappearing, and one is self-existing, neither comes nor goes. Okay, Sushupti neither comes nor goes. Sushupti can be seen in two ways. One as a coming and going. In fact, coming and going is an imposition. It doesn't come and go. If you watch closely, Sushupti as an experience itself neither comes nor goes, because it is yourself. So in this way, Sushupti looked as the Anubhava, as you are in Sushupti. You are in, you can't say you are in, you are Sushupti. It is synonymous to, Sushupti is a synonymous to yourself. So that myself is a non-dual experience. It is a universal experience. You keep that as a reference point, as a background point. With the help of that background, what is a variable experience, you can negate them. All other experiences are variables. Okay? Waking is variable, dream is variable. If deep sleep taken as a state is again variable. See, two things. Deep sleep looked from the waking standpoint, it is a state you reach and you come out of it. But deep sleep as you are, neither you come nor you go, because it is non-dual, it is formless, shapeless, it is self-existing. So therefore, that self-existing experience is there. Against that background, you can understand how other experiences are false. Therefore, to be able to do vichara, you need to watch experiences, examine them, out of them which is a real invariable and which is variable. That's all. But for a common man, it looks that waking is also eternal and real. Waking is also self-existing experience. Dream is also an experience, a natural experience, he thinks. But on examination, he understands waking is not self-existing. It is a variable experience. Variable means coming and going. So what is self-existing? It's burning, unbearable. We'll stop it. It's too much it is. Climate is burning. Oh, so much heat. Suffocating. The heat is suffocating heat. So, vachana balat anubhava viruddham swikaryam. You can't accept anything which goes against your anubhava. Go by your anubhava. Stick to your anubhava. Within the anubhava, see what is negatable, what remains unnegatable. So that unnegatable experience called self-existing experience should remain as a reference point. With the help of that reference, you can see what is negatable. Without that unnegatable universal experience, this negatability can't be understood. Therefore, Vedanta is only examining the experiences. What is negatable, what is unnegatable. If you don't have the non-dual experience, that is unnegatable experience, then negatable cannot be seen. If you don't have unnegatable, the non-dual experience in everybody's life, they say, some people say that as long as you are jiva, you cannot have the non-dual unnegatable experience. You cannot have non-dual experience. If you don't have the non-dual experience, what is that standard with which you are referring these changeable experiences, varying experiences? What is that reference point against which background you can say that these waking and dream are variables? To say these experiences are variable, you require an invariable, non-dual experience as an underlying basis. If you don't have that, they say only Jnani has that non-dual experience. Or Shruti says, on the strength of authoritative statement, on the strength of the testimony of the Shruti, you have to accept that there is non-duality. If non-duality is not a reference point, The waking and dream cannot be dismissed as variable. They cannot be dismissed as false. See, note it. The present experience of individuality, jivahood, the present experience of jivahood cannot be understood as a false unless you have the background underlying unnegatable non-dual experience. Unless you have the unnegatable non-dual experience which is universal, which is already existing. Unless you have that background, this negatable experience cannot be seen as negatable. Therefore, experience of non-duality, it is there in everybody. So this is the one important point which Sachidananda Swamiji brings out with the help of Shankaracharya statements. Advitiyam is a direct experience of everybody. You don't have to they say Advaita is Brahman, no doubt, but as long as you are Jiva, as a Jiva, your Jivahood continuously covers non-duality. You can never have the non-dual experience at all. All the time your experience is going to be dual. This is the main difference between Sachidanandendra Swamiji, who follows Shankara, and others who missed Shankara. So we have to say two Vedantas. One follows Shankara Vedanta, another is missed Shankara Vedanta, which misses Shankara's, although they are also followers of Shankara Vedanta, a few crucial points they missed. Okay, one of them is this. They say we have got only three states. Okay, all of us have got only three states: waking, dream and deep sleep. And we have to do Vedanta Vichara. We have to search. Vichara means examination. We can examine only these three states because these are universal experiences. Whether atheist or theist, or whether you religious or non-religious, whether you are Indian or foreigner, whether you believe, whether you are a Hindu or a non-Hindu, waking, dream and deep sleep are common to all of us. So when you are examining these three states, so they say, they means those some of the section of Vedantins who follow Shankara but miss certain crucial point of Shankara. Say that waking is a state of duality, dream is a state of duality, deep sleep is also state of duality. So non-duality state doesn't exist as long as you are Jiva. In Jiva's experience, there is no question of non-duality. Jiva has to lose Jiva, then a non-duality comes. It has to come freshly. No Jiva can have that experience of non-duality. All your three states involve only duality. Then how do I know that non-duality is the basis on which this duality is a false appearance? Duality is Vedanta teaches that this duality is a false appearance upon the non-duality. Where is that non-duality? On what basis you come to negate this duality? How? They say on the strength of the Shruti statement, on the strength of the authoritative text of Upanishads, or a Jnani's experience. An enlightened person states his experience that yes, I am Brahman, I have a non-dual experience. So with the help of these two, you have to accept that this Jivahood, this duality is a false one. It is not my real experience. This poses a big problem. How do you understand thus this Jivahood or this duality is a false experience, to contrast with where is that non-duality experience for you? He says no Jiva has that experience. It is a new experience, is yet to come. Okay, that's what a section of Advaitins say. But Sachidanandendra Swamiji, following Shankara, says Non-duality is directly your experience like in deep sleep. Deep sleep is an experience of non-duality. But it is not a tentative state. It is underlying all states. Because it is timeless. It is self-existent. It is timeless. It is not one of the three. It is not one of the three states. It looks like a three states looked from the waking standpoint, but the deep sleep taken as deep sleep. Deep sleep not looked from outside. Anything looked from outside may look differently, but see the experience as the experience. Everybody has, nobody can deny. Everybody has deep sleep experience which is nothing but non-dual. Taking that as a reference point, you can negate all other states. So that reference point is anubhava that has to be taken help of all the time to do vichara. So this is what Swamiji says, even while doing vichara, you have an experience of non-duality right now. Right now it is a reference point. It is not a matter of belief. The non-duality is a not matter of belief, as some of the Advaitins say, which you are going to get. As long as a jiva, you cannot have that experience, but that experience is going to come at some time later. First thing is a non-duality cannot be a newly arrivable experience. It has to be self-existing. What is self-existing is eternally existing. What is self-existing is ever-existing. Okay? What is self-existing is ever-existing. What is self-existing is universal existence. Therefore, that existence is there in everybody. That is the reference point you can take and then see all other Vedanta vichara. Therefore, taking the Anubhava as a basis, Vedantic vichara goes on. Vedantic vichara begins, continues and culminates in the self-existing fact alone. Without that, vichara can't take place. Then it will be a matter of belief alone. A believed non-duality cannot form a basis to negate the duality. Okay? If non-duality is a matter of belief, this duality is a matter of experience. This cannot be negated without the basis of non-duality. Okay? Non-duality has to form the basis to be able to negate the duality. Vedanta vicharasya nakinchidapi vachana matrat. Therefore, at every stage you have to watch the experience. You have to watch. From the experience to experience, still wider, you keep on moving from the narrower experience to the wider experience. From the superficial experience to the deeper. Then next deeper. Still deeper, then ultimately the deepermost, which is unnegatable, which is not negatable into further deeper. Okay? This is how you start with experience, move within that, and keep on negating narrower experiences, superficial experiences, go to the deeper and broader. Deeper, broader, ultimately it stands as none. There is nothing more beyond that. Okay, this is where it is an Anubhava based observation. It is not a you are not acquiring a new experience. On negating something, they say on negating something you acquire a new experience. No, in the existing experience you search and watch and discriminate. See the difference. See, they say, those Advaitins, our people alone, they say, after negating the duality, you come to have the non-dual experience. But here we say, non-dual experience is right now there, but it is slightly mixed up with dual experience. So therefore, the mixing, the adulteration has to be cleared. You have to watch the experience. While watching the experience, what is wrong, you separate it, you negate it, then what remains is a self-existing already. So it is only watching the experience. It is not removing the covering and getting a new experience. Removing the present experience is a covering. They say Jiva experience is a covering, duality is a covering. On removing this covering, the new non-duality experience will arrive. No, we say non-duality is there, but it gets a little bit disturbed. It gets mixed up with duality. So non-duality is an experience, duality is an experience, it gets mixed up. You only watching. While watching what is really changeless, eternal, self-existing, what appears to be self-existing but not really self-existing. You discriminate between them. You hold on to the experience, watch them within the experience. That means in watch, you can watch if it is an experience. Non-duality if it is out of your experience. If duality alone is your experience, if non-duality is out of your experience, you can't watch it. What do you watch? Because watching is possible what is within your experience. That means you are watching your own experience. Non-duality, self-existing is there, and it is mixed with certain other things, duality, false things. So discriminate between that self-existing and what appears to be existing. See the distance, the discrimination is what really exists, what appears to be existing. Okay, therefore hold on to the experience and discriminate it, negate the false things. Ultimately the unnegatable is self-evident, remains self-evident. So against the background of that evidence, that self-evident thing alone, within that self-evident anubhava, many things are negatable or negated. Within the self-evident experience, negatable or negated, unnegatable remains ultimately. So negatable, unnegatable is a self-evident experience. In that self-evident experience, you watch what is negatable, negate, what is non-negatable remains. After negating all things else, therefore it is only question of observing your experience. This is what Swamiji says. Vachanam, therefore, Atayeva Bhashakaraihi Prasthanatraye, therefore Bhashakara in his entire Prasthanatraya says that Vachanam Gnapakam Nakarakam. The statement is only Gnapakam, not Karakam. Gnapakam means statement only reveals, doesn't change, doesn't affect a change. The statement has come not to affect, but only to discriminate and reveal. Okay? It reveals an existing experience. It negates and leaves out. By negating it, points out. Pointing out means it is like the snake while disappearing, it reveals the rope. Snake itself reveals the rope on disappearing into rope. The snake reveals the rope on dissolving itself. Okay? Similarly, here Vachanam sentence is only reveals. It doesn't bring about an effect in you, a change in you. Therefore, Vachanam Gnapakam Nakarakam. In your Anubhava, self-evident Anubhava, what is a variable has to be seen as variable. But the variable is mixed up with, wrongly taken to be self-existent. Yet, we see that the variable waking and dream are changing. But it appears that they are self-existing. Waking is really existing. Dream is really existing. Dream world, while experiencing, it appears that you are really existing. Waking appears that it is really existing. And your sense of individuality appears that it is really existing. But on watching, you come to understand the sense of individuality is not really existing. There is something which forms the basis of sense of individuality. That is the real existing. It always remains self-existing, self-shining. So in that self-shining, taking that self-shining as a basis, you negate all other things. Self-existence, self-shining or self-evident. Therefore, iti nyayam avashtabhya vachanam jnapakam natu karakam. This is a beautiful statement of Shankaracharya. Vachanam anubhava. Therefore, what is anubhava viruddham? Nobody can teach and nobody can accept such a statement. Anubhava viruddhamapyartham pratyayayitum nalamiti pratipaditam. That means whatever Shruti statement, whatever the Vedantic teaching, or whatever Guru's teaching, or whatever the debater's words, the participants in debate, the others' words cannot reveal. They have to reveal my anubhava. Without reference to anubhava, if you say, cannot be accepted. Whatever the Shruti says, or Guru says, or another debater says, Shruti, Guru, or another debater, whoever say, what they say should refer to experience. That means we touch the experience. We work upon, work means we keep on watching the experience, searching in the experiences alone. In the experience alone, we search for and look for what is negatable, what is variable, and what is self-existing. Okay? A self-existing swallows everything. It is universal. It is self-existing. It is self-shining. Okay. So the self-shining, self-existing experience, we look for it. Even your looking merges into that self-consciousness. Even your searching, even your vichara mind is understood within that consciousness alone. Even your listening is happening within the consciousness. Okay? Therefore, vade tasmat anubhava viruddha eva yuktayopi upanyasaniyaha. Therefore, so the Shruti has to refer to your anubhava. Guru has to refer to your anubhava. Even the debater has to refer to the anubhavas, universal anubhavas. What is a personal anubhava? You can't verify. If a debater or a guru refers to his personal anubhava and asks me to accept it because it is his own experience and others cannot have it, I have to believe his words. We can't accept it because the personal experience is not a universal truth. Okay? It is an acquired experience, tentative experience, and it could be an illusion also. Therefore, a universal truth has to be a universal experience. So a debater has to touch upon that universal experience, point out. He has to point out that means he has to shift my attention to the limited experiences and point out continuously to that universal experience. Point out this is limited, this is not because it is limited, this is not because it is changing. A universal changeless experience. You have to turn your attention towards that. Okay? Therefore, a debater has to keep on watching, pointing out the universal experience. Guru has to teach, Upanishad has to teach, debater has to touch. All the three have to touch. So nothing, therefore you have to use anubhava, aviruddhaha eva yuktaya. Therefore you have to bring the logic, arguments which are based upon anubhava. Arguments which are referring to anubhava, not setting aside anubhava. Arguments cannot be accepted. Arguments which are referring to anubhava, which are based upon Anubhava, Anubhavanga Tarka. The arguments which are referring to Anubhava have to be brought in. Anubhava has to be brought, and the debaters have to bring the arguments referring to Anubhava, not jump to an imagination, or you can't put an argument, ask me to accept it on the strength of an argument. Argument has no strength if it doesn't refer to Anubhava. The argument has to be based upon Anubhava, then only the argument has a strength, okay? The argument has a strength if it is based upon Anubhava. That means it is referring to Anubhava, pointing out Anubhava, the movements in the Anubhava, how it is changing, how it is not changing. So all that you talk about Anubhavas alone. From the Anubhava, what is negatable, you negate it. You use arguments to negate what is negatable. What is non-negatable remains there. As a basis for all your arguments, listening and speaking, for every experience it remains. Even in the negating also, in the process of negating also, it remains underlying. Even in the negation, what gets negated, what is unnegatable remains there as a basis even for negation. Even while the other experience is negated, this experience forms the basis of even that negatable experience. Okay? It forms the basis of even all the negatable experiences. So that remains. Therefore, Yavadecha tasmat anubhava aviruddha eva yukta. First, Shruti Vakya has to point out Anubhava. Anubhava viruddham, a statement which is divested of. Statement divested of Anubhava cannot be verified, cannot be accepted. First point. Second point, the arguments. The arguments any debater brings, he has to refer to Anubhava. Divested Anubhava, no argument can be accepted. An argument which is unrelated to Anubhava cannot be verified. Cannot be accepted because it cannot be verified. Every argument has to be verified in Anubhava. A statement of authoritative statement, Shruti Vakya, Guru's Vakya have to be verified in Anubhava. Therefore, those Vakyas must be referring to Anubhava. Then the coming to arguments. Any debater brings any argument, those arguments must refer to Anubhava. If they don't refer to Anubhava but divested of Anubhava, those arguments have to be believed only, or imagination alone. It is something like A is equal to B, B is equal to C. Therefore, A is equal to C. We don't know what is A, what is B, what is C. Are they really one or not? A is B, we don't know what is A, what is B. X is equal to Y, Y is equal to Z. What is X? We don't know. It is just an imagination. You say something is equal to something else, and that something else is equal to another something else. This something doesn't make any sense, because something means what is that something? So logic forms only this superficial pattern of something. When something combines with something, what will happen? If somebody asks a question, when something combines with something else, what will happen? You have to say when something combines with something will become something else. All the three are you don't know what is something. The something, is it a person or a living being or non-living? Or is it existing or non-existing? Is it liquid or solid or gas? Or is it something substance or non-substance? We don't know. We don't know what it is. Therefore, this kind of logic is called Shushka Tarka. Shushka means a form of logic without any content. A form pattern alone. It means something like calling X, Y, Z, A, B, C. We don't know what is A. Because we have to really when you say A is equal to B, what is A? Is it really, then B say what is B? Then let me compare and see, is really A is equal to B? Just because you said A is equal to B, I can't accept. I have to see in my experience, is A equal to B? How? I have to see. Therefore, when you say A, point out which aspect of my Anubhava you are talking when you say A. When you say A, which Anubhava you are referring to? when you say B, which Anubhava you are referring? Point out. That means your arguments should be referring to the Anubhava. Statements, Shruti Vakya should be referring to Anubhava. Arguments should be referring to Anubhava. If divested of Anubhava, no statement can be accepted, whether Guru, whether any holy man's statement or any Upanishadic statement. The statements have to refer to Anubhava. Final authority is Anubhava. Okay. Vade cha tasmat Anubhava aviruddhaha eva yuktayopi upanyasaniya. So even in the debate, you have to refer Anubhava aviruddhaha. What are not divested, what are not against Anubhava. So those arguments should not go against Anubhava, should not be divested of Anubhava. They should be referring to Anubhava. So those arguments, when you are touching, I should be able to see. Just now I have told you A is equal to B, B is equal to C. You don't know what is A, what is B, what is C. If you say A, show me what is in my Anubhava. Then I can say, oh, this Anubhava is similar to this Anubhava. I should be able to verify. When I say A is equal to B, what is A and what is B? You can't just say superficial form that somebody is equal to somebody else, therefore these two people combine become somebody else. Somebody, you don't know what is somebody. Something or somebody, these are all too vague, not vague, they're just imagined words alone. Imagine means you are not giving what are they. Therefore, a just format of logic is useless. That logic or arguments should refer to Anubhava directly. Therefore, Vade cha tasmat Anubhava aviruddhaha eva. Yuktaya, the yuktis which are related to Anubhava, based upon Anubhava, referring to Anubhava should be brought. Those arguments should be referring to my Anubhava. Then only I can see. You are pointing out one Anubhava and show how this Anubhava is variable, how this Anubhava is limited compared to a larger Anubhava, a broader Anubhava. I should be able to see. Otherwise, you say everything is imagination, you don't know what is what. So therefore, a Shruti statement or a holy man's statement must refer to Anubhava. A debater's argument must refer to Anubhava. We are only watching Anubhava, which is a universal experience of all. Universal experiences we are watching. Out of them, which are wrong experiences, we eliminate, we negate, and what remains the really universal experience. Okay? This is how we have to do vichara. The next point, Yadat Tarkopalnaya Vakyam. Now, this is what we are supposed to do. But instead of doing this thing, how people make mistakes. How the very debating is going on a wrong track. Not all, some people. How some people, how they hijack the very debate, how they use wrong arguments. Swamiji refers that we are going to discuss tomorrow, next class. Not tomorrow, I think tomorrow is Saturday. Yeah, I think next again Tuesday probably. Yeah, Tuesday alone we have to see. No, Tuesday, no. As I changed Tuesday to Friday, other days other classes are there. Tuesday to Friday to alternate days. One day Vedanta Paribhasha in Kannada, other one day in Mula Vidya Nirasa. I think we do like this. Tuesday Paribhasha, Wednesday Mula Vidya Nirasa, English. Then Wednesday Paribhasha, no. Tuesday, Wednesday, no sorry, Thursday. Thursday Paribhasha and Friday. Like before, as we were doing before, I think that suits well. So hereafter we can say Wednesday and Friday. Remember this thing. For this English Mula Vidya Nirasa, Wednesday and Friday, okay, around 11:15, 11:20 to 1 hour. Today it is a little more than 1 hour. This is the everyday twice, weekly to Mula Vidya Nirasa, weekly to Vedanta Paribhasha, and other Gita too, and other classes, and one day is a holiday. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat. And this next argument, see, we will continue this thing. It goes on. Om.